Welcome back to part 2 of the steering install. A little windier today. All right, the plan. Let me show you. Here's what I got going on. This guy right here, 40 spline and roughly 20 millimeter or 13/16. And I cannot find a 40 spline of the same size. So what I'm thinking about doing, because I don't want to damage this by heating this, is I'm going to heat this. I'm going to take this part off, the lower part of this U-joint, and I'm going to heat this, and I'm just going to smack the tar out of it to get it on here. And you know, I can already see the naysayers saying, nope, not going to work. Nonsense! We're going to make it work. And if not, you're going to watch me fail. Either way, it's fun. First things first, I'm going to take this U-joint apart. It's got a couple of Allen size bolts. And let's see if I have the right tools. Too big? Maybe? Nope. Too big. It's probably not standard. Do I have metric? There we go. Yeah, every size, but probably what I need. This one that looks like the right size. Just set these down here. Oh, perfect. Just spinning these off. I'm assuming that's what holds the U-joint bearings in. This might be a mess. A little windy today in Ridgecrest. Well, maybe those are just for show. They're probably pressed in. Well, I would like to get this apart because otherwise it's going to be well, I don't want to damage this U-joint by heating this. Plus, I need a way to bang on it. Well, let's see if I can press it out with something. Well, here's the plan. Not that I really have plans when I do these things. It's more about flying by the seat of my pants. I was thinking about using a box end of a wrench to give me a little space, and then cinch her down with this great neck C-clamp. It's actually broken, which works in my favor because then it'll fit the U-joint, boop, right there. And if I ruin this, whatever. I mean, I don't want to ruin it because that'd be $30, which isn't the most expensive U-joint out there. Borgeson makes much nicer stuff at a much higher price. I use my gut. Maybe there's a reason for this dad bod. Am I doing this the absolute hardest way? Yes. Maybe a socket. Can y'all see what I'm doing here? Cinch her down. Problem is this U-joint is rounded And so nothing wants to stay put. Nope. Keep sliding. Oh, sweet. Worked. All right. So I got that moved out slightly. Hopefully I can move it just enough more to get the bearings out. Let's try a larger socket. Just slightly larger. There we go, killer. That's that. All right, so I was able to get the cap off, just grabbed it and pulled it off. Should be the same on this side. Yep, bearings came out with it. Just need to pay attention to how the rubber seals on there. Looks like it's just at the bottom of this particular U-joint. All right, so I've got the piece off that I want. I'm gonna take this bolt out, retaining bolt, and we're gonna try heating this bad boy, and I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna use. Well, after all that trouble, I realized I had the wrong U-joint. This is actually the 13/16 size. This is the 3/4 size. Not gonna fit. So, and this one I think is painted, which sucks because it's gonna burn off, but it doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to work. But it's the same setup, so I'll go through the same steps and remove this, and then we'll carry on. All right, so I've got my torch. I'm gonna use this to burn the paint off. Crazies, it's not gonna melt the metal. I'm hoping it burns the paint off. If there's paint to be burnt, I think it might be powder coated, which is going to require a lot more heat. All right, so this isn't going to work. Gave it a shot. Y'all are so judgy. All right, useless. Let me show you the other torch that I have. You may have already gotten a hint of it. All right, we're going to be using the old Benzomatic MAP Pro plus oxygen. It will definitely heat the metal up enough. Let's try that again. Turn that down slightly. Nope, not off. Pete's sake. All right, oxygen. You just want to, I keep blowing it out. Let's see what we get with this. Might take me forever. It's already oxidizing the paint. All right, for some reason my MAP gas is not working right. The valve. There's plenty of fuel in it. I can hear it sloshing around in there when I shake it. Jimmy Dean is not my brother. He's just a guy who makes some sausage for fun and puts it on a bun. Pretty sure that's how that goes. Okay. Well, it's like watching paint dry. Everyone knows how Andrew feels about that. Actually, I'm the same way with model cars. When I was a kid, I used to make those. And I would do them in about 2 hours. Instead of waiting for the glue to dry, I just went for it. Usually ended up sticking my fingers to the parts more than the parts to themselves. Okay, new plan. So I was able to get the U-joint hot enough to where I could just smack it on the end of that shaft. However, it was going on an angle, and I I didn't see that working well. So I'm going to do the next best thing, and I'm going to hollow out the splines on this throwaway U-joint, and then just enough to where I can slip it on the end of that shaft, and then I'm going to weld the sucker. So it's not going to ever come off, ever. But I'm not too concerned about it because this was a junkyard part, and what was it, 100-something bucks. No, I don't want to lose $100, but I think this is probably the better plan. The downside is the other end of the U-joint is also going to be welded. So the only way to get it apart and together is by taking the bearings apart. That's not cool, not fun, but has to be done. Rhyme intended. All right. You feel free to forward or watch along. More sparks. Just lost the wheel, for Pete's sake. Just not working today. So maybe the green stone is better. Let's also turn this down. No, medium's good. Well, after much persuasion, I was able to remove enough material from the U-joint to hammer it in place, and it's not going anywhere. Now, I do realize there's a lot of torque involved here. I don't want to just assume that it's good the way it is, so I did line up the bolt hole here. There's a flat space on the spline shaft, and so I'll put a bolt there, and then I'm going to weld the top as best I can just to kind of keep everything snug, and we'll see how that goes. Hopefully I don't ruin this. That would be ideal, to not ruin this. All right, stick this on here. Make sure the Allen end is out. Thankfully I didn't ruin the threads. At least I don't think I did. Well, that sticks out a lot. Well, possibly. I believe that's all the way down. All right, so I'll wrench this down. That shouldn't go no well. All right, she's tight. Let's get the welder out and zap some weld right there. Here's a pro tip. Take the shield off. I'm not a pro, but that's what they say. So I'm going to try that because I need to get in there in the crevasses. What is the deal here? Let's try slowing it down some. By the way, if you're not doing the bucket holder method, you're missing out. All right, I'm assuming my weld's not sticking because number one, I suck, and number two, the metal might be dirty. Let's give it another go. Come on now. Well, is it pretty? Heck no. Will it work? Maybe. Well, I got a couple good puddles in there. Don't judge me. It's like the third time I've welded. Should I be welding steering parts? Maybe not. But that, along with the bolt, it's not going anywhere. All right, this is what I got so far. Got the U-joint attached to the power steering unit, welded to the shaft. I used the bearing from, well, it used to be up here until I cut it. So I removed the old shaft that was down here and replaced it with the shaft that I cut off because it already had the bearing. I tried pulling this bearing out and putting it in the other shaft, but it's a smaller diameter. So anyway, that's keeping it taut. And now I just have to bolt this to here. I still got to figure out how I'm gonna attach a steering wheel. But the only way now to get this apart is if I take the U-joint apart. So it's not going nowhere. All right, now I am going to thread this bolt. Hopefully I got the right starting. I'm gonna have to make this hole bigger. All right, hole wasn't quite big enough, so we're gonna go a little bigger. All right, that looks good enough. Let's try to do a little tappage action. Well, after not having the right bolt, I decided to thread this one. It's just a little bit bigger. And now she threads in. It's a little long, but I'll worry about that later. I'll grab a smaller, oh, I don't know, hardened steel bolt lathe. I just want this to be in the hole. All right, so again, I think I just have to mount this to here, figure out how I'm going to mount a steering wheel. But in the meantime, I can hook up the power and test it out. Let's do that. All right, I'm going to mock this thing up, see what it looks like. Metal in the thumb. You know, why don't I wear gloves more often? I don't know. Glutton for punishment, apparently. Alright, we'll just hang that there for a second. Put my bolts through the bolt holes. Actually, washers. Nah. Looks like I'm trying to destroy the wiring. All right, so it naturally wants to be right about there. But I'm gonna put these strange things away from my thighs if possible, like such. Not too shabby. All right, here comes the fun part. Yep. If I can get this thing somewhat drivable, I might just take it to a guy, whoever that guy is, and have him put this together for me. Well, at least the steering wheel part, because I want to make sure that it works. Got a little too much caffeine in me right now. I'm a little shaky. Settle down, settle down. All right, about like so. And grab our washer and a nut. I mean, this thing's fairly hideous, but it'll do the job. Good enough for government work, as they say. I don't know who says that. All right, we'll let that hang as such. Try not to tear the flesh from my thumb. Oh, don't you spin on me. Come on. Be nice, be nice, be nice. All right, we're getting somewhere. That's gonna sit roughly like so. I wish that could go behind the dash some more. However, I don't think it's going to. Because I have to be able to get to the plug here, the harness. Okay, let me get up in here. Am I blocking your view? No. Okay. Just let me know. Tell me you need some space. Why? Oh. It's because this is cattywampus. Give me a break. That should slip in behind the bracket. The brackets kind of overlap. Trouble may come when I try to clamp this down. I don't know that this will be tight enough to keep this from moving. I may have to weld the bracket onto the shaft. I'd rather not. All right, I do believe it's a 13 on either side. If I can find the bolt hole. There you are. Ah. Let's get this where we want it. Right about such. All right, just to recap, I'm going to be hooking up a positive wire to the top left, and that will be ignition 12 volt. So when the key's on, this will get power. This will always have power to it, but with a big fuse, just in case. But this will not activate, the whole unit won't activate until this gets 12 volt power from the ignition. So let me hook that up and we'll give it a shot. All right, so I've got my battery set up here. Got the basically imitating ignition power here on pin 1, and it should click. I don't have the best hookups right here, so, but it'll go from can't move it, which is kind of like where it's at right now, and then when it pops on, am I connected to the right pole here? Maybe not. Let me try this one. There it goes. So it just popped on. And look at that. It's like butter. I mean, you would not be able to turn this with a screwdriver or pliers. So it takes a lot off. So it is spinning back just because it's stationary. But let me unplug it and then try to turn it again. Once it kicks off, it's still on. Oh, that's not good either. We can't have you spinning. All right, so I may need to tack weld one of these brackets on just so it stays put. Well, I realized I was recording and I didn't have a mic, so I got nothing. Let's try it again, shall we? I'm gonna hook up the power. Positive to the positive. Something like that. Jam the negative in there. Sure. Let's see. There's the negative. Make sure they're not touching. Ever so slightly. Okay. And then plug in our ignition positive. So you should hear a click once this comes on. There it goes. All right. And she's working. I'm totally tearing up the threads in this thing. But hey, it's pretty cool. I mean, this is much easier to deal with. Because when that's not plugged in, it cannot be moved with these. Success. Now I just need to wire it, clean up my booger welds so you'll never know, and get a steering wheel. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Bitter-Swede Garage. We appreciate everyone tuning in, dialing in, logging in, whatever it is you got to do to get here. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned because there'll be more to follow. Thanks again.